Hi, how are you? How you doing?
Hey
Guys. I miss Pat. I really miss Pat Campbell. He has a professionality. He has a way about him. He has this practiced like talk show host. Here comes
Polish.
Troy. Polish. Yes. There we go, Troy. Hi.
Welcome. Hey, how are you?
Welcome.
Yo.
Good to see you guys.
To Rule Zero. Oops, wait, you know what? We are Rule Zero. We are not Rational Mail today. There we go. I changed up the logo. Did you guys like the new look of the logo? This is not good. It's not this is the old one, but the new one that I'm using right now is I wanted, like, when we first started this, you're like, okay, we just need a logo really quick. And it was like back in July, and we just like threw things together. And now I think we're realizing that this is getting a little more serious. So it's like I've had to open up a whole dossier and a folder and really a project thing for all of our branding with the upcoming event, which, by the way, we should just make a quick announcement before we jump in here, and we'll keep this as brief as possible. I am 100% sold out of my first initial 20 tickets. So if you guys want to get in on the Rule Zero Las Vegas place event extravaganza, you are going to have to maybe actually get into a waiting queue, I think, too, because I know, John, you are now you've sold out your original 20. Troy, how many tickets do you have left, Troy?
I think I've now got about 6 left. I think so. If anyone needs any, then come to me. I'll put the link in the chat for this show.
You got 6 left. Ryan has a few left too.
I got one. I got one.
Okay.
And here's the thing: I kind of want to give it to one of my old sailor friends too. So I'm not even sure if I want to part with it.
So, and I know that Rich is sold out as well. So we are just about sold out. I know we have a couple of overage tickets. I think, John, you've got at least 3 overage. I've got 3 remaining.
Yep, I've got 3 remaining as well. I've sold 23 total.
We built it, just so people know, we built in a buffer just in case. We wanted to limit this to 100. I kind of expected it to sell out. I mean, that's pretty low attendance anyways for the for the overall things. 100. We wanted to keep it as I guess intimate and as personal as possible. This is our first stab at this, so that's why we're doing what we're doing here. But we're getting close, and within 1 week, we have pretty much sold out. I would say we're pretty much sold out right now. We have overage tickets. Yes,
absolutely humbled.
Yeah, it's crazy. I knew that. People kept asking me about it. When are you guys going to do you guys gonna ever do an event or something after all the shit that went down in June, and so we're doing it. I think it's been well received thus far. And
can we tell them what me and Troy are doing?
Sure, that's what I'll let take it away, John.
So Troy and I, we kind of like wanted to soft test the waters of doing a 5-day live-in experience, and we have it. It is the Hot Dude House in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we did a soft email announcement, and then we did a show yesterday on my channel, and our 10 tickets already sold out. So nice. The Hot Dude House is already sold out. It's going to be a 5-day live-in event with me and Troy Francis. Everybody from the Rule Zero panel will be popping by on Friday, having a little casual meet and greet. Ryan said he's going to make some salsas for everybody, so we're going to get that on camera.
Is that every day or just 1 day, Ryan?
Oh, we can't give it to them every day.
No. But so tell them what that means. Tell them where it is, what it is.
So the location we rented a very nice large Airbnb that has pool table, poker table, has 11 beds, has the pool in the backyard with the jacuzzi and a grill. It's the total event, and it's a total immersion event. Like we are going to get in there, and it's going to be a head to toe analysis of guys who are serious about doing this and taking their dating life, we're going to give lessons in brotherhood, masculinity, leadership, fashion. Literally, it's impossible, and we're not going to let you come and leave the same man. Like, we are really going to put everything in. So it's starting on Thursday. Check-in into the house is at 6 p.m. And then Friday, we're having the mini seminar. And then obviously Saturday, we're having the Rule Zero event. Saturday night, we're probably going to have a Hot Dude House only meetup where we recap and then decide what we're going to do for the night. There's a big UFC fight going on that night. And then Vegas is Vegas. Sunday, obviously, we're probably going to be slightly hungover. So we're probably going to do a late brunch, do a little meetup, some poolside stuff. And then Sunday night, Monday, we're going to dedicate towards gaming and just little, it's going to be like the guys that are coming, they know it's not going to be super structured, but at the same time, we want it to have a relaxed feel, but we also want you to know that you're there to change, that it's not a complete resort, like a resort experience.
It's not just attaboys and backpats.
We're not RSD, we're not going to just sell and then be like, oh, hey, here's a pep rally. Good for you. Like we're actually going to guarantee some results. And we're really excited. And honestly, Troy and I are really humbled by the response because it sold out extremely quick, like
incredibly quickly.
Troy was in charge of the tickets. How long was it, Troy?
Oh, mate, I mean, I did a very soft launch. What was it, Tuesday or something? I mean, a few days ago, towards the beginning of the week after we, finalized the details on this. And we'd sold 50% of the tickets within about a day or something. And there were more and more inquiries coming in. And as soon as we, we went live yesterday and chatted about it, we just, the whole thing just completely sold out. So it is, like you say, it's incredibly humbling. And, for us, this is about presenting a fun event, but presenting a transformative event. Do you know what I mean? Right. This is about really, really getting under the bonnet and really helping guys to level up in this space.
Well, that was Rolo's thing. You wanted workshops, not seminars, right? Because workshops is where you can actually learn.
Yeah. In case people don't know, this is the event right here. I got some people in the chat going, "What the hell are they talking about? You didn't catch last week's show, did you?" So we have very few tickets. This event is basically sold out. So if you want to get in, you're going to have to, you got to be a member. First of all, you got to be a member of our private communities. And usually that's just like Patreon. For me, it's just Patreon, right? So at the lowest level, $5 a month, that's easy. Just all you got to do. And the only reason we're doing that is just, mostly for quality control. We want to make sure that the people who are there are really there because, they want to be, and that's we're not looking for like trolls or anything like that. We want people who are like dedicated to the community. And again, this is our first stab at this, so we'll probably do a bigger one at some point. But right now, we want to keep it. We're learning from this, and I've never done anything like this. I'm pretty sure, other than John, pretty much nobody on this panel has ever formed any kind of thing like this before. So
would have killed for an event planner who had some good sense to him.
Yeah, imagine that. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what's
we'll do it ourselves.
I'll tell you what's okay, and we'll move on to the topic here in just a minute, guys. But what gets me about this is once we announced this, everybody came out of the woodwork. They're like, "Oh man, I want to come in video. Can I be there to do this? Can I help you with that?" I got Sam Botta saying, "Hey, well, let's go find some offsite events," and everybody starts coming in and saying, "Hey, you're going to do that," and it's like, we're doing it, and people want to volunteer. They want to participate. And all we're doing is just like sort of arranging things so people can show up and do their thing. John, do you want me to show pictures of the house, or should I just keep those off the air right now?
It's already done. It's all said and done. If you didn't get in, I'm sorry, you didn't get in.
Well, it's really nice. Let's just say that it's nice it's a very Vegas looking house.
It was not cheap.
Project Vegas, man. That's what it is. It's a return of the project houses, like Project Hollywood, Project Vegas, except Ryan, I like what you said about this, is that I wanted to keep it I don't want it to feel conferencey, I want it to feel like a bunch of guys that got together so they can hear other dudes talk and everything. We're just hanging out and we're doing guy things. And that's the thing, is we're doing things at this. We're not just sitting around talking. Like I've said this a million times, is that women talk, men do. And the way that men communicate and the way we make contacts and we network and stuff is we have a project. We have something that we're working on. In fact, you guys are going to love this. Is the actual conference site, which is just a little bit north of the Las Vegas Strip. It almost looks like a garage, man. I mean, the place is a converted, like large, almost looks like a garage, where like you can get together and like build something or put a project together. I don't know what it is, but it even has that kind of feel where it's like a hangout, you know? Yeah. And so it's not just getting in a dark room and, you know, like speaking to a bunch of, you know, silhouetted heads, you know, while you're there. You're right. You're not. In fact, I don't think we even have a stage. We're like right down on the ground with everybody else. And it's like sort of almost breaks down the third wall, I think. So I always wanted that feel like we're communicating, not like me here and you here. It's like we're like right like this the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
I just want to say this too, like, you know, we, you know, not to talk too much about that other convention, but we called it. We said what was going to happen, and we said that they were going to turn this into a money grab, and that's exactly what they're doing. You know, there's a guy in the chat saying like, why didn't you Airbnb out a second house and sell more tickets? I could sell more tickets for days. I can do that all day and all night, but it's not about making money. It's not about that. It's about changing dudes' lives. Like if these guys are coming here, like the only reason we set up a paywall is just to protect us from potential crazies that may come. You know, because if you just let anybody in, then like who's, you know, then you don't know who's going to show up. But this is not about like grifting you guys for cash or whatever. We are all financially set, all of us. We don't need to grift you for $500 tickets. We are doing this to freaking save lives.
Oh, we're doing this because people wanted it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and people wanted it too. That's
they want it. Too. Yeah. Yeah. This is something to, you know, it's weird because I think that when you put together an event, there almost always has to be like sort of a theme to it, or there has to be some sort of purpose for it. Like if you go and you look at RSD's events, it's always motivational, pep rally, Tony Robbins stuff. And it's, you know, I mean, if that's your thing, you know, fine. But you know, you don't have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to have an experience where you're actually growing and you're learning. Right. I mean, I don't, you know, there's going to Harvard and Yale, you know, and then there's going to, you know, community college, those kinds of things. You know, where do you want to be, right? Where is, you know, where are you realistically in life right now? And I think, you know, Vegas is fun, man. It's a fun spot to go do it. So, yeah. So that's our shtick for today as far as the convention is concerned. If you still want to get in, you're probably going to have to at least email or direct mail us or private mail us and say, hey, look, I really want to get in. Is there anything left? Like I said, I'm out 20. John's out 20. Rich is out 20. Troy's got a few left. Ryan's got a few left, but other than that, we got one left. So we're at overages. Yeah, we're at overages right now. So just keep that in the back of your head. So today's topic, I'm going to start a few things off here, but I wanted to ask each one. We're going to start off with a question for everybody. Today's topic, I've written probably at least 3, maybe 4 different essays about guys being zeroed out, and I have been zeroed out, obviously. I think pretty much everybody on this panel at some point in your life has been zeroed out. And when I came up with that term, and when I was, I don't know, I guess connecting dots, it was more like men's experience. And this seems to be like a unique to men kind of experience where, because we have a burden of performance, because what our not say our egos, but our personalities and who we are, our I guess our collective experiences is dependent, or is I don't say dependent, but is rated or measured by our performance, like what it is that we do. When we get zeroed out, when we build up, and it doesn't necessarily have to be with girls, it can be in your career, it can be in other things. When you put a lot of energy and you put a lot of work into something, there's a want and a desire to see some sort of return on that investment, to believe that it wasn't just a waste of time for you to do what it is that you were doing. So my first questions of all of you guys, and you want to just I don't know, keep this as brief as possible, but can you guys name? Let's start with John. John, was there a time where you got zeroed out, where you were like riding high and you went to absolute zero and had to rebuild yourself?
Are you just talking about like financially, or
financially, relationally? It can be family too. You know, there's a lot. Like I think a lot of people end up mistaking being zeroed out for just like, oh, my girl left me, I'm zeroed out. It's not just that, man. Like a lot of guys will hit a low point because I'll tell you about mine. The most recent one that I experienced as being zeroed out was back in 2013. and I was working for a. I'll give you here. This will just be my example. I was working for an import-export for a company. It was a really big one as well, and I had a portfolio of probably about 24 brands. And I always kind of, I'm always kind of feeling people out as far as like the corporate environment and sort of sussing out what people are telling me versus what I'm seeing go on in the company. And so I'm working for this company, and then it was like I think it was a morning after New Year's, or we had just come back from our New Year's break in January of 2013, and the guy who was the head of the company said, "Hey, we're going to divest the company, and you're basically all out of jobs right now. And we're going to take, some of you will still be held on, but pretty much the company is gone. And but we're going to give the guy good severance, and it's not like they were assholes about it. It's just that was the decision that they decided to do, and they just divested things. So it wasn't, we don't need this $1 million building anymore. We don't need all of this stuff. We can farm out your jobs to other places. And it was really kind of fucked in a sense, because we developed. We're working as a family. It was a very small company with very financially, very, very financially set company, but we're working with each other and everything. And then suddenly we go from like being a family to just like, okay, everybody just leave kind of thing. And it was at that point where I had to sort of reassess things, because I had put a lot of, my ego certainly into my work. As you might imagine, I was an art director and a brand manager for this import export. And I really, I had sort of, staked my dreams and my hopes on this company, that it was going to be, it was going to go end up eventually be something bigger than it became. And so I had moved to Florida. I had pretty much put a lot of my investments and a lot of my time and efforts and energies into this. And it went from one day where I was very hopeful to being very like zeroed out pretty much. And of course, what happens when a guy, you put all of this, I don't know, I guess emotional, ego, financial, like think about all the investments you put into like a business or a career, and then to have that career or business fail. So to me, that was like, I had done a lot. Like up to that point, I had probably put about 12 to 15 years into what it was I was doing. And now I'm forced to reassess. And I'm happy to say that here in 2020, I'm like probably, I'm definitely 10 times more successful than I was in 2013. And I've managed to rebuild myself, but I was younger then, that was seven years ago. And, I was in my early 40s. I was building something, and it all went to shit. And sometimes that happens with your career. Sometimes that happens with a woman. Sometimes that happens with your family. You have all of these, if the guys who tend to be the most prepared also tend to be the most unprepared, right? When something doesn't go their way. And I think it's a real test of a man to be able to go from riding high and having a good project and creating a masterpiece of his life, to having somebody just take that masterpiece and here's a new canvas. You're going to have to go and paint something new. You're going to have to do something else. And that gets really hard the later you get in life. Like we were talking, we had just had a guy that had come on not too long. I'm gonna use this example here in just a minute, but I think was it you and me, Ryan, or so we had talked to some guy who was 20 years old, and or excuse me, he was 26 years old, and his life was sort of over, and his girlfriend was leaving him, and he just didn't see how he could go on. And I'm like, dude, you're 26 years old. You have your whole life ahead of you. You at least what you're, where you're at and where you can go. You're going to get zeroed out. This is the best time to be zeroed out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was us.
Yeah. Because I've talked to guys who are 70 years old who've been zeroed out. And then we'll talk about suicide later on. But what I think my theory is one of the reasons why guys between the ages of 45 and 65 years old, the reason they kill themselves and the reason they do murder suicides and all that other stuff is because they put in so much energy and so much what they feel is relational equity. Another essay I've written about. And when you remove all that and they realize just how worthless that is, because it wasn't worthless, but they think that it is worthless because all of that equity is just stripped from them in a moment, then they have to reassess their lives, and they're faced with two choices. One is kill yourself, and the other one is rebuild yourself. So that's what I'm talking about. So John, have you had an experience where you've been zeroed out in your life?
Yeah, I would say the most recent one was in 2018. So like, you know, I just had this gut instinct. I had this corporate job, right, at this pretty big it's like a Fortune 500 company in Japan. It's actually the 20th best company in Japan. They're the official sponsor for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, so you understand the caliber of this company. And I knew I just had a gut feeling that I needed to quit this job and pursue modern life dating with the fullest. And I quit the job, and then I was riding on the working at an English school, and then I had an Airbnb that was really successful. But then something happened within the family, and then I was cut out of the Airbnb deal, and then something happened with some of my paychecks coming from the English teaching jobs, and there were 2 months that went by in 2018 where I earned about $900 a month consecutively. I had to like dodge my landlord, and I remember like I would get a consultation fee and be like, oh God, I have $70. I can eat for the week now. And you know, being zeroed out, it really tests you. It really tests your mettle. And but I recommend it. Yeah, I've been zeroed out on 3 separate occasions. And each one I came out of it quicker, faster, and at a higher point than when I entered it. So being zeroed out is it's a trying time, and you really see who your real friends are. You really see who the real solid plates are versus the real unsolid ones. You see who's who. And you don't ever trust, like when you're high flying and everything, that's when you attract all the snakes. And I'm realizing that now. When you're down and out and you've got nothing, those people who are around you, those people who take the chance on you or believe in you, those are the solid people you keep around. Being zeroed out, I happen to be, obviously I talk about my childhood and everything on my show. I think that I'm a little bit more mentally tougher than the average person just from what I've been through. So zeroing out, I never considered killing myself. Like, I got down to zero money. Having zero money is a terrible feeling.
Oh yeah.
And I got down to zero money, and I was just like literally living on like a bag of rice and like chicken breasts. And if I was like, I would like be able to buy some vegetables and stuff here and there for 2 months. It was just really bad, but it was for me pursuing, this whole thing with modern life dating, which really took off. Thank God. Yeah. But for those guys out there, you just like a lot of guys who get zeroed out and they don't really mentally prepare for it. You have to realize, like, one thing I learned from being in Japan is to practice a little bit of Buddhism, and attachment is the cause of all suffering. So you have to be ready to lose everything. You got to be ready to lose your mom, your dad, all your money, your wife, your girlfriend, your health, everything. You have to be mentally prepared because inevitably that's going to happen. And that once you take that mental viewpoint, when you're in a position of abundance, but you apply that and realize like everything can be taken from me and everything will be taken from me, and you mentally prepare for it, when it happens to you, you're not blindsided and you don't suffer nearly as much. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
Troy, where you been? Have you been zeroed out recently, Troy?
Well, I would say the most recent time that I was zeroed out was back in 2016, and it was again a corporate job situation. I mean, I've also been zeroed out, of course, in terms of dating and relationships and all that stuff. And actually, those could be pretty bad, especially when you're younger. I mean, I've been dumped by girls. I've been in, relationships have failed, and I've been left in a bad state. And that's certainly something that, guys, myself included, it can be tough until trying to start to learn those coping mechanisms to get you through it. But I have to say, being zeroed out in a job context was pretty tough. And this was a job that I'd been in for 10 years I've been with the same firm, which was arguably too long anyway. And, you know, I probably should have mixed it up a little bit, but whatever, you know, been with this firm a long time. I was making pretty good money. It was a very prominent firm, is a prominent firm within the UK and actually internationally as well. And yeah, you know, and it was kind of, as much as I was having the itch to move on and go and do something for myself and do something more entrepreneurial, I never quite made the jump, because it was almost like what they call golden handcuffs in a way. You know, it was like the money wasn't amazing, but it was good enough that, you know, I was able to buy a property, and I had a pretty nice life, and it's hard to sort of walk away from that.
Yeah.
Anyway, then there were changes and there were restructuring within the company and et cetera, et cetera. And I found myself in a position in about, actually it was 2015 coming into 2016, that I was effectively being pushed out of the company for various reasons. And it got into a big sort of battle, and there were, you know, lawyers involved and all this kind of thing. It got pretty heavy for a little while. And then I came away from that. But I found that to be a very, very challenging time, because, you know, you're basically on the drip of a salary, of a monthly salary. And like John said, I never totally ran out of money. I had a little bit of money put by, and I was still getting paid by this company and everything, even when we were in dispute. But nevertheless, the thought that in a month's time, that could be it, you know, the tap gets turned off, is pretty scary. And I'd started to do some blogging on the side. I'd started to do some of the stuff that I'm doing now, but it wasn't in any way advanced in terms of it being anything that would replace my income. And that was a pretty seismic time, but, you know, for me to deal with. But I have to say, now I'm just so glad that it happened. You know, the whole thing about the worst things that happen to you can sometimes turn out to be the best things that happen. And that was really an example of that, because if it hadn't have been for that, I could probably have still been at that company, to be honest. You know, I wouldn't have made the changes that I needed to make in my life. And it was having that push that forced me out of the corporate world in the end. And I mean, after that, I did get another couple of corporate gigs for a little while, but by that point, I could see the way the industry I was in was. I could see that this was just going to end up happening again. I could sort of see through the whole, not that I ever bought it, but the whole lie of corporate work as being some sort of safety zone. You know, I could see that it was just, you're only there until they want to get rid of you. And I realized the importance of trying to build something for myself, because like you said, I mean, it's all very well. I was in my, I was 40 actually then, so I was getting on a bit, but I was, you know, young, still youngish.
You're young, baby.
Exactly. But, you know, and of course, anything can happen to you at any time. But it seemed to me it was important to try to build something for myself, because I wanted to take some control of the situation, you know, not just be beholden to these corporations. And I kind of feel the same way about relationships as well, to be honest. It's not good to be too reliant on anybody, because you don't know what's going to happen, and people don't always have your best interests at heart. So that's why anti-fragility, I think, is an important thing.
I wanted to talk about anti-fragility a little bit today, because I'm kind of on the fence about all. I understand the concept, and I understand why it's important and all that, but I think that even guys who
concept anti-fragility,
well, to have a backup plan, man, to be untouched. It's I forget the name of the movie, but it's to have fuck you money. Right, $2 million is fuck you money. You can just go put it in the bank, whatever. Buy yourself a cheap car, buy yourself a house, and just sort of, live off the interest or whatever on your own. But I think that even that is sort of becoming an antiquated idea. YOLO here has a question. He says, "Hi, Rollo. Many men become like kids, and their mind gets locked after their wife leaves them. Why does this happen, and how do they get out of this
scarcity mindset
mentality?" Yes,
scarcity mindset. There's a girl turning 18 every fucking 30 seconds, boys.
Right. Well, and then the other thing is, I was going to bring this up as well, and I'm sure you guys already know this, but the incident that happened with that rugby player Rowan Baxter, and essentially got zeroed out by his wife, and basically had a murder-suicide, killed her, killed the kids, burned them alive in a car. And this was actually kind of something that tipped me off to today's topic, is this idea that guys go through a point where they're just sort of reduced to having their dreams destroyed, right? They put a lot of effort and energy into creating a life for themselves. Like I got a couple of other, and Ryan, I want to hear about yours too, but I have obviously, people know the story about my brother-in-law, zeroed out. Couldn't live without her, literally couldn't live without her. Had put all of this energy and this time into their post-kids life so they can sort of the happily ever after. I mean, literally building a house with his own hands, putting his money into, doing everything that we say that a guy should do, like a mature guy should do. Like, sock away his money, be laser focused on security and the future and everything else, and be a good husband and be a good dad and everything, put the kids through college. And he'd done everything. And at 40 years old, all of that whipped out from under him. The key element, his wife left him. Right. Same thing with my dad didn't go through that kind of a zeroing out, but I can remember when my dad was 50 years old. And he was riding high. He was at the apex of his career. He was a vice president of a hospital down in Southern California, 50 years old. Me and my brother flew in. I was 20, flew in. We went and he had a huge party with all of his business associates and everything. And then within 5 years, the company had, the hospital he was working for had been bought out. They fired off all the management, all middle management, and put their own people in there. My dad was one of the people who got axed. And at 55 years old, my dad had invested his ego into his identity, literally his identity, into who he was at work and his job and what it was that he did. That is where he derived his identity from.
This was the hospital administration gig?
Yeah. And so, bam, all gone. And what happens after that? That's when the wife starts, oh, you're not making any money anymore. I gotta support the family now. All that fancy bullshit about, we're going to be equal partners and all that other crap and the egalitarian marriage. Yeah, that lasts for about 3 to 4 months. I saw it happen in real time when I was about 20, 21 years old to my dad. And like I said, it doesn't last very long. And so when a woman gets to the point where she says, okay, I'm going to have to be the one who picks up the slack here. I'm the one, it's almost as if, the pair bonded male and the female, the male suddenly picks up a limp, right? He suddenly is debilitated, whether that's financially or physically or whatever. And now she has to carry him. She has to carry him along, and women resent that because it is not just because of it's a dominance thing, but it's also a security thing. He can no longer provide for my security. He can no longer provide for my protection. And it's this hindrance. It's very Darwinistic, I think, is that there's this idea that I am attached and stuck with this guy who is now a liability rather than somebody who is promoting my security. And so what happens is when, Chris Rock says, is like, you lose your job, she's not going to leave you right away, but the clock is ticking. Yeah. And it's very true. And there is a limit to, I would say, most women's patience, unless that guy is super alpha and super on top of his game. Because I'll tell you this, when I got zeroed out in 2013, I think what happens is when you get to be a little bit older, and you feel like you have more equity in yourself and your identity is wrapped up in whatever it is that you've been zeroed out from. When you get to, and this is financially, of course, but when you get to, like, say, your 40s, things are different than if you got zeroed out in your 30s. Because when you're 40, now maybe you've got a kid, maybe you've got a wife, maybe you've got people who are dependent upon you, and now you're zeroed out, and everyone is like, whoa, what are you going to do? Are you going to be okay? Like, everybody's looking to you for leadership, for security, for protection, everything else. And now suddenly you're less able to do that. And like you said before, John, that's when you find out who your real friends are. But Ryan, go ahead. Give me one instance here. After you unmute.
Dog was chewing with the toy, so I had to keep it quiet.
Right.
I hate telling this story. Ever since, I think I even told you in like that certain convention that shall not be named. It's like Batman origin stories. I'm tired of watching Batman movies where they kill his parents every damn time. But I always say my claim to fame is I was never really red pilled by a woman. I was kind of one of those lost boys that Illimitable Man had talked about. Not really given strong father figure, direction, that kind of thing. And so I kind of found that through the military, though. Queen and country, work hard, play hard. And then I remember there was always that one salty supervisor there who gives you this fantastical story about how he got screwed over. And it always sounds so unbelievable. Kind of like when we're talking about the rugby player there, when he God, who would do that? Absolutely, who would do that? And you kind of don't believe it. You think he's being hyperbolic. And then it happened to me, and I realized, oh, I get to be one of those guys then who sticks around as essentially a broken man. And this is kind of one of those examples I saw where this is how guys react to these kind of hardships, because we're all going to get a hardship. In this case, he completely snapped, narcissistic rage, murdered his family. If I can't have him, nobody will. This is horrible. A lot more guys just do learned helplessness, and they sit there in the cage. And I got very lucky in that I came across the red pill right around the same time this was happening. Like false charges thrown against me, the kind of stuff. It's not even a believable story, and I hate telling it. So I'll just, if you guys really want the details, talk to me on privately and Patreon, whatever. I essentially had to make a choice then. Like, look, what kind of life is it I want to lead? And I got very blessed in that I wasn't so attached to this stuff. I didn't know how to let go. And the help of like guys walking you through the process was good. But yeah, so then for that zero out, it was a great thing, because then I went cold. And it's that wonderful trait you talk about in War Brides, where a girl can like lose her husband and then immediately fall in love with the conquering army. So it's the one time I will say the men being raised as broken women came in handy. Yeah, but it's just, and then you realize, okay, so that is over. I can be attached to it and suffer and punish myself, or I can just look ahead and what's right in front of me. And that's like the core of red pill, where you observe and you base your actions on your observations. You don't think about what I want, what should be, okay, what's here right now, and how do I deal with it? And if you can do that with a certain amount of detached ego, it's just an amazing thing. And I find that's the better part of the story than who did me wrong.
Right.
It's that you can actually use these mental models or these tools to avoid being that guy who murders his family, or that guy who sits there jaded waiting for a paycheck and hopefully getting crashed out.
What would you? What are the key tools then, Ryan? Because what happens? Because you can imagine the dude in this situation, and he just thinks, not only has my whole world collapsed, but also like the whole world is against me. So fuck.
Well, it's not. Here's the thing. That's the thing people don't figure out. As best I can understand, it's not the world is against me. It's that his model for the world is broken.
Yeah, exactly.
And he invested all of his eggs into this one basket. I am the rugby player in Ultra Chad, like he's doing everything right, like Rollo said, by that script that all the soccer moms and, you know, the Disney fantasy, we call it.
Yeah.
So he bought into it so much that he didn't build any options of what else to do. Like, what other life could you have? And so when that's taken away from him, and it's not that it was taken away as in like something out of his control. If his family died in a car accident, he would probably be able to deal with that better than if his wife decided that all of your mental models suck and I don't agree with them. It's this, everybody around him went against his mental narrative. And that's the part he couldn't handle. So he wasn't murdering his family already murdered him in his mind. And so he was just returning the favor.
Yeah.
In his case, and I hate to say it because he's such an attractive, good looking, successful guy. There's nothing you can say to that. Like there's nothing you can tell him because life is going so well. A guy talking about how bitches ain't shit isn't going to fix him because he's not even going to hear that.
True.
But yeah, for the normal guy, it's actually better. Like if you're the kid whose parents got divorced 2-3 times, you're actually able to like know, okay, things aren't good all the time. For this guy, I just wish there was something, and I hate to say it, but it's just one of those, I think it's just a cautionary example that wouldn't have gone any other way.
Yeah.
But it's a great lesson for the rest of us, as sad as it is.
This is a good question here. Thanks for this one, Heidel. I think that's your name. Rollo, I understand when a man gets zeroed out why he'd kill himself and his wife, but what drives him to kill their children? That I will never understand. I think it depends on how that guy got zeroed out and what he perceives is his only future or his only choice. Like, why would you go kill her? And this is common too. Like guys it's not just about like kill myself. The sort of this self-righteous suicide. I think guys end up when a guy commits suicide, and I'm very familiar with suicide, as you guys know, men are more successful at it. And they're very pragmatic about it. They don't go, I'm going to take some sleeping pills and people will help me, or it's a cry for help. That's why I get really pissed off when I see these articles by these women who try to dismiss male suicide as a cry for help. It's not a cry for help, man. When men kill themselves, the reason why they're successful at it is because it's pragmatic. They have made the decision, they're going to do it, and it's done. It's like a gun to the head and they're done. I mean, if you look at the methods of how men tend to kill themselves, it's not a cry for help, and it's not because they're like, oh, well, he should have just expressed his feelings more, or if he could.
That was him expressing his feelings.
That was him expressing his feelings. His feelings are, I'm worthless and I'm done. And you're not going to get that. And so what women do, and in a feminine centric society, what happens is they say, well, if guys were more like women, if they would express themselves, if they experienced emotion more like women, then they wouldn't be killing themselves. So guys, the reason you're killing yourself is because you're a defective girl, pretty much. And that just simply adds to the thing. But more and more you're seeing guys who are killing not just themselves but their family. And I think what it is it's the idea of seeing or predicting the future, like seeing what their future looks like. Their future looks like no one in the house. It looks like the woman that they were with is all of the old order, old social contract, old set of books is gone. A lot of guys will set themselves on fire, literally set themselves on fire. And if you read the essay that I wrote called the second set of books, I use this guy, I think his name is Thomas Ball. And what he did was he did self-immolation, and he did it in front of the courthouse after his divorce settlements and his child, he lost his kids, lost everything, and basically had written this very long manifesto.
Is that setting yourself on fire?
Dude set himself on fire. There's also just recently, I think it was back in November or December, somebody sent me another story about a guy who had done that. He got into an argument or some sort. He was like really distraught about his girlfriend breaking up with him or whatever, and he was having an argument with her and poured gas on himself right in front of her and lit himself on fire. Didn't die because there was a guy that was there that put him out, I guess, before it could get him. Obviously the dude's like burned to death. I think that's almost worse. And literally the guy is sitting there in flames. The other guy's trying to put him out, and the guy who's on fire says, "Let me die. Let me," because dying in flames is a better future for him than what he saw his future without this chick. Like, people want to say, well, Rolla, why is it that you stress killing the beta so much? I'm going to talk about that here today too, because that's part of today's topic. Why is it important to abandon and to unlearn all that crap that you learned when you were blue pill, when you were conditioned for this? Why is this important? So you don't set yourself on fire. That's why it is important.
Yeah,
that's why.
So mad too, because I went to this convention in November. And there's this section where like everybody was like telling their like life story, which led them to this convention to like it was a digital marketing convention. And like these two ladies got up there and like, it was just so annoying because they I don't want to sound insensitive saying this, but like they were telling the story of their attempted suicide on a stage and then monetizing it. And I was just like, am I that's the tough thing about being a red pill guy and going to these blue pill conventions. Like, and all these other dudes are sitting there like eating it up hand over fist. And just like, it's just men are really
missing
like,
that humanity.
It's like men are really, really suffering when these things happen. And like, again, it's kind of a joke that men do everything better, because even when they want to kill themselves, like, they get the job done.
At it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's just like, it's just so infuriating, because I truly believe that the pendant is swinging the pendulum is swinging the other turn, though. I think there is an awakening happening thanks to the rapid spread of information via the internet. So I think that things are kind of coming to the light. But to see, such things as male suicide trivialized, and then other things like these girls like monetizing their suicide attempts, it's like, I don't know, it's just I think it needs to be brought to light, and I think it's really good that you're
just on a sort of a weekly bashing the trads purple pill dudes tip though. Of course, this is why that information that those guys are putting out is so dangerous, because effectively what a lot of these guys are teaching is the old books thinking. And it's like, no, just do it, Mike. Just take my coaching call for $700, do everything right, get married to your childhood sweetheart, it's all going to be amazing, and there you go. And the difficulty with that is they're completely ignoring all of the work that's been done in this space over the last 15 years, all of the knowledge that's been brought to light by all this shared experience. And they're directly pushing guys into exactly the situations that you're describing.
Yes, that's a blue pill. That's you guys wonder why I get so pissed off at guys who are, the purple pill guys, the guys who know better. The guys who have read my book or been in the sphere, or read Roosh or whoever, they understand, they're red pill aware, but yet they're still clinging to that blue pill hope that they can have what is essentially a very dangerous mindset, or potentially dangerous mindset. And so, and if you don't, and of course, what they say is, well, and you know who I'm talking about when I say this, but like they'll say, well, Rollo is radicalizing guys, or he's pushing guys to be hopeless and nihilistic, and it's like, no, they were that way already, dude. They were already nihilistic. They were already black pill. I didn't push them over the edge. I didn't give them anything they didn't already have when they started.
Yep.
Besides, it's more cynical than nihilistic anyway, really.
Yeah, well, that's the another thing is, and I wanted to talk about this too, is like, a lot of guys will say, well, the black pill is the real pill, man. It's all hopeless, and it's all, it's all what Nietzschean, nihilism. We're all going to die kind of thing. And it's all pointless and worthless.
It makes like no logical sense to come to that conclusion, because there's tons of people happy out there.
Well, you can see where people's mindsets are at. It's like when you get zeroed out, or when you lose your girlfriend or whatever, a lot of guys, if you can tell when a guy is blue pill and when a guy's red pill, when he loses a girlfriend or he gets out of a relationship, because the red pill guy is going to see that as opportunity. The blue pill guy is going to go, my life's out there. I'll never find one as hot as her.
They do it just like that, Rollo?
Just like that every fucking time.
Where am I gonna find my girl? Now triage. I don't. As far as cults go, this is the worst ideological cult ever, because there's no ideology, nobody's recruiting, and we tell more people to piss off than anything. If this is a cult, it's the worst.
Well, and I tell you, I get kind of, well, you guys probably do too. I get kind of tired of it, man. I get tired of this. Oh, the black pill is the only way for Rollo, you're only halfway there. You need to tell guys to do what? To not get married, to not talk to girl, to what? To just be a hikikomori, just to, shut yourself in. That sounds real healthy. Like, what is your solution to all of this? It's like, it's not like the black pill guys or MGTOW or red pill or anything. It's not like they don't understand the situation. They do. It's what they decide to do with that information and the tools that they've been given with red pill awareness. That's what ends up defining them. But here's the thing is, the way they use those tools was already set for them before they even came into that knowledge, because that's where they were at. That's where their headspace was at. So when guys tell me, oh yeah, black pill's the only way to go, it's hopeless. I'm only 5'9". I'll never find a girl. And so when I hear that, I'm like, okay, well, just kill yourself. Go ahead. If that's that, because what's the ultimate solution? Like at the end of your rants and everything, your purpose is to go online and tell people everything is hopeless. Yeah. You're going to make a living off of that.
I would say that, I think people go down the route of the black pill, or the kind of really dark side of MGTOW, when they take the red pill, but they refuse to do the self-improvement that is necessary and that is equally available to everybody on the planet. Unless you're born in I'm sorry to say this, but unless you're born in the Democratic Republic of Congo or something, where pretty much there's no hope. If you're watching us, you're probably watching us on a smartphone or a computer. You have access to information on the internet that can literally build you a fortune. And between that and crafting a good body, which you don't need to be rich to craft a good body. You need $100 a week for food and $40 a week for a gym membership. That's it. If you can't get that together in 2020, then the problem is up here. That's wrong. And then instead of looking in the mirror and being a man and realizing that this is a problem with me, you do the feminine thing and you immediately push towards the world is wrong and I am right. And quite honestly, that's a quick way to race to the bottom.
Yeah, I think part of it is fear too, though, because you're right. There's those things, there's those decisions you make. And I think a lot of guys are so terrified of making the wrong decision that they'd rather sulk and not make a decision at all. Because it may be crappy. Yeah, it may be crappy martyr complexes and stuff, but they know how it goes. I sit here and I sulk and I waste away. I know how that story ends. so I can live with that, other than taking a chance on making the wrong decision, because then it's not my fault. And I hate that attitude. I hate that entire attitude, because it's so self-defeating, and it's useless. Because like you said, the guys in the Congo, they can self-improve, build six-pack abs. All of a sudden, you're thrown into a diamond mine 3 fingers later. But here, I mean, Troy, you can start over at 40, Rollo at 50, me at 30, 40, whatever year. There's guys that can start over at 60, and you can build. You may not be like The Rock starring in grade A movies, but you can carve yourself a pretty good life. You just have to pick a direction.
There are huge opportunities now. I mean, just with the internet, just with the connectivity, the way that we're all on this show now, to doing this. I mean, it's just mind blowing, the opportunities out there.
Drop shipping.
It's well, like I was saying before, it's never like the barrier to entry to mastery to anything has never been lower.
You don't even have to be a girl to be the top chatsturbate like streamer there.
Right.
You got an AI run by a dude who's now the hottest girl.
See, and here we go. I knew if I said this, I would draw one of these guys out. So here we go. Yes, Rollo, stay married. What men do individually define them? Not what. Okay, first of all, I didn't say that, asshat. So second of all, not what we generalize for men or what is supposedly alpha. Say that to Brad Pitt and Johnny Depp. You guys are insulated. You guys don't know what you're talking about. It is actually hopeless.
Exactly what I'm talking about. He doesn't want to make a decision because any decision he thinks he's going to make is going to be wrong.
Right.
He couldn't even type out like a rational sentence without
what does that,
what
does that comment even mean? What does it even mean?
Well, look, what it means is that you can't out alpha the state. This is the same. It's the same MGTOW, the same MGTOW black pill really argument. I think we really need to start defining this as a black pill argument instead of a MGTOW argument, because MGTOW still can't figure out what MGTOW is about. So in this case, I think what we're talking about is a black pill argument here, which is you can't out alpha the state. Look at Brad Pitt. Yeah, look at Johnny Depp.
He's suffering so much.
You want to look at you want an in-depth guidance through Johnny Depp's head. Look at the what Ryan and I did a video on Johnny Depp not too long ago, right? We were talking about him going with Amber Heard and everything. So don't give me these isolated incidents. Okay, here's the other thing is that I'm kind of on the fence here. I get it from both sides. So if I go and I say, well, guys, don't get married. I've said this a million times. As marriages today, don't get married. Do what Ryan's doing. If you're going to be in a long-term relationship, it's like, oh, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. The juice will actually, or the squeeze will actually not be worth it, and you'll get zeroed out and you'll kill yourself, right? Or it'll be, if I say one thing, if I'm talking and I agree with the guy's, red pill, black pill assessment, then suddenly I'm a misogynist, nihilist, and we're all doomed. But if I go and I say, but rebuild yourself, put yourself first, make yourself your mental point of origin. If I say stuff like that, then I'm either a cynic or I'm too optimistic. And that's what this guy is saying. Well, you guys are insulated. You're too optimistic. No, asshole. We know what we're talking about. Okay. We've been here. I've been in a marriage for almost 24 years. I've been zeroed out several times in my life. I know what I'm getting into here. Yeah, I know your side of the argument here. I'm just saying that I'm not even disagreeing with your analysis. What I'm disagreeing with is your headspace about what it is that your analysis is telling you.
Rollo,
it's not about you or me.
Another thing, I want to say this real quick. Like when people saying you can't out alpha the state, like if you are actually paying attention and not feeling sorry for yourself, the laws are slowly but surely shifting towards more quality of life for men in regards to child support. In 2017, Alabama completely abolished their common law marriage law. So there's no more common law marriage, because in some states when you live with a woman for a certain amount of time, then like you're have a common law marriage. Like I think it's like 5 or 10 years, but they got rid of that. In Italy, they got rid of the child support. They changed the law with a limit on it. In Norway, the last year they changed the amount of time needed to claim alimony from 10 years to 5 years. So like things are getting better. I don't understand why everybody's losing their mind. The chances are you're probably just in a dark negative spot in your life. And like I said, and the reality is you have every single tool available to you this day to make a 6-figure salary and live extremely comfortable.
Mm.
The problem is you.
Yeah, come and sleep on a couch at the hot dude house. They'll sort you out.
We got 3 sofas available. We got 3 sofas available if you guys want to come and sleep on them.
I'm gonna move into the second part of what I'm gonna talk about today, but I do want to get to this question because this is pretty good. It says, do you think being zeroed out is directly correlated to the breakdown of a held blue pill beta belief? Or can it truly happen for a red pill unplugged man? I think I'll just quickly answer this. I think that being zeroed out happens to, I was zeroed out in 2013. I would definitely have referred to myself as being red pill in 2013. But again, it's contextual. So what do you mean by being zeroed out? Is it with being with a girl, or is it being with your life, or being in a position? Here's the thing I wanted to say this too, is that I think what really kind of defines a male experience is your burden of performance and how well you can snap back from these things. Like, how well can you come back from diversity or from adversity? I think I've written a couple of essays about creative intelligence, and one of the things that that human females have selected for in our evolutionary past is men with the ability to have creative intelligence, to think outside the box, to innovate, to make a nicer house than the guy next to him, because that creative intelligence is I think a selected for survival benefit, right? To be able to say, you know what, I lost all. I had $1 million, but I lost it all. But guess what? It took me a few years, but now I have $2 million because I have the capacity to generate new options. And that's what I keep talking about. Like, confidence is derived from options, or the ability to generate new options. So there's the ability to think creatively, to see what your situation is and how you can profit from that, how you can leverage that. And that is where black pill mentality fails, because they don't see the opportunity. They don't see how they can build something. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that's a really healthy sort of framework for a guy to have for his life, actually. You know, and I think it was Victor Pride who used to talk about this on Bold and Determined. He would say, it was either him or somebody of that ilk, and he would say, what would happen if tomorrow I woke up in a strange city and I had no girls, I had no money, I had no nothing? What would I do? And you know, the answer should be, well, I would be confident enough that I could start to make money, I could start to make friends, I could start to meet girls, I could build a life for myself, even if you drop me down in some anonymous city somewhere and I didn't know anybody. And that to me is what you want to aspire to. So it should be. I
would argue with that slightly, but other than the be confident, I would be too busy getting on it to even care how I felt.
Yeah, exactly. You got to do.
Which I guess is just that with a little more bravado attached. I don't know.
No, I think you're right, Ryan. I mean, you just like stop sitting around feeling sorry for yourself. Fix your life. If your life sucks, write it down on paper. I'm fat. I'm broke. I'm ugly. And then start thinking of solutions and how you're going to knock those things out and get to work.
Well, surely this is the more masculine approach to all of this in the end, isn't it? You know, surely that guys, I really like the idea of the entrepreneurial spirit, both in terms of business, but also in terms of dating, in terms of anything really. It's like, okay, so where am I now? What do I want? What are the steps I need to take to get it? What do I do?
It's jerking off in your living room. Like, what else are you going to do with your day?
Exactly.
You busy?
You can't. Chris L says you can't do anything about ugly, which is true, but you can get jacked in the gym, and that is, you know, at least you look good from the neck down.
Yeah.
You need to, again, it's I hate to
brown bag boys, don't worry, you'll be fine. Do ugly chicks all the time, or ugly dudes all the time.
Okay,
so Josh can't walk and he's had sex with 11 girls. I mean, like, come on.
I know. And you know what's funny is, like, and with the internet you see this more, and I think it's probably a blow to a lot of these guys' egos, is that they'll see somebody like Josh who gets laid, or they'll see some guy who is like this, you know, incarcerated criminal who's not even all that good looking, but he's the baby daddy of like 2 or 3 girls because women go after that guy, and that guy's, you know, sitting at home dick in hand. So that's got to be, that's got to be a reminder of like what your state is and where you're at all the time. It's like, what was it? Royce used to call it like, blue pill guys crying all the time because they'll see what shouldn't work with women works very well with women. Like when we started talking about, like, I can remember back in the early days when people were saying you need to be more of a jerk. You need to harness the jerk attitude or whatever. But yeah, women dig jerks. They dig the dark triad. They dig criminals. They dig violence. And they're not going to say that, but their behaviors and their choices and the decisions that they make for themselves pretty much show you. That's why I'm a behaviorist. Is their behavior belies their motivation and their incentives. So when you show that, and a guy is still thinking, "Oh man, you got to treat him nice. You got to do it." You're still in your blue pill conditioning. When you see that, that's part of unplugging. It's part of the 5 stages of unplugging, is accepting the fact that what we're talking about is real, and sometimes it's depressing. So you got to get past that. That's why I keep saying it's the abyss. Like when you become red pill aware, when you understand the nature of women, you see it going on around you, and it's unavoidable now. You cannot ignore online what women are doing, and it's in your face all the time. Especially if you're red pill aware, you go, "Oh man, that's what Rolla was talking." Even if you like, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to see it, I don't want anything. You can go into denial and then walk down the street and say, "Oh, I'm in denial, it's okay," and then you'll see something going on around you that will remind you of something that these guys, those whack jobs in the red pill, are telling you about, and you can't ignore it anymore. I wanted to put this one up here. Oh, by the way, Josh, I don't know if Josh Fluke is in the chat today, but he's been doing again, he's still doing his like corporate America or his corporate thing. He did a couple of videos the other day talking about like this one's called 35,000 people fired, 550 people fired from Wayfair.com. I don't know if you're familiar with Wayfair. Mm-hmm. All of these layoffs and things that are going on right now. And these are people who are going to, think about that. Like you lose your job at whatever, HBC or HSBC, I think is just like laid off like 15% of their global workforce. That's a lot of friggin' people who are going to be zeroed out. There's a lot of dudes amongst that are going to be zeroed out, that are going to have to say, well, I got to figure out what I'm going to do. I got to feed the family. I got to put, keep the lights on kind of stuff. And it's when you combine that, as like, if that's a blow to your ego, okay, but it's also a blow to your burden of performance. Now you've got to step. Now you were comfortable in your job, and now you've got to be uncomfortable and go try to find some way to become something more, become something better. And I think that as we sort of progress as a society and we have more, like I keep talking about the global sexual marketplace, but also just the sort of global intelligence information market, I think more and more we're going to see how people are dealing with this kind of stuff, because it's like a guy loses a job. It's not just an impact to him. It's an impact to his wife, his relationships, his family, all this other stuff that goes along with that. So I wanted to, this was a really good, let's see, where did it go? I'm going to grab this real quick. And I believe it is this one, is it?
I just don't get all the, maybe it's the blunted affect thing Carl accuses me of, but all this time navel gazing about how bad things are.
Well,
but I get it, and I get it because it's what's the point? But there's, I probably, because I'm a farm boy, I'm just like, all right, I'll sulk for an afternoon, but then I got to get over it and get something done. At the very least, my ADD commands that I fill my time with something.
Yeah.
I can't do a Minecraft 12-hour Let's Play and consider myself accomplished.
This is actually the post. This is in Reddit that sort of inspired this topic today, because I don't know if we've ever really had a rule zero about being zeroed out or killing the beta. This is a really good example of why a guy needs to kill a beta. It says this guy's 28 years old. His wife is 28 years old. Threw the flowers out I got her for Valentine's Day. This is a Valentine's meltdown. I destroyed her late husband's wedding ring and messed up everything. This is juicy, in case you didn't know. Sorry for how long this is, but I'll read through this as quick as I can.
Dude, they always apologize for the late.
Yeah, they always do. Yeah. He says, I met my wife when we were 20. Big mistake. We've been together since shortly after we met. We got engaged at 26. So he's got this relationship with her from 20 through 26. What do I always tell you guys about like staying single in your 20s? You know, you need to learn this. So they just got married last autumn at 26 years old. When I met her, she was a widow. At 20 years old, she was a widow. She had known her late husband since infancy. Her mom babysat him, and they had been dating since 7th grade. Married at 18. He died in a car accident when they were 20, shortly before I met her. When we first started dating, she was still grieving his death. She would often have panic attacks and lock herself in the bathroom crying. I tried to be as understanding as I could when things like that happened. I tried to comfort her, but she would just ask for space. Over the years, this has lessened, and she never brings him up anymore. Our first Valentine's Day, I got her chocolates and flowers. She accepted them and said she appreciated the gesture. But then she said that she thinks Valentine's Day is just stupid commercial holiday that she doesn't care for. I retorted that I think it's a sweet day where couples could profoundly express their love. Who uses those? Who you profoundly?
Cringe, dude.
Yeah, and that I'd still like to celebrate it at least a little, right? So this
He's
is
acting
his
like the woman.
Yes, he is. After pressing it for a while, she admitted that she didn't want to celebrate it because she celebrated it with her late husband. It started with corny little Valentine's Day cards you make for your classmates in elementary school to full-fledged romantic dinners. Then eventually they got married on Valentine's Day. We were freshly into the relationship, so I digressed and agreed no Valentine's Day, so I never attempted to celebrate it again. That brings us up to this Valentine's Day. Man, I can feel my blood boiling as I type this. It's our first Valentine's Day as a married couple. She never discusses him anymore, so I think, why not surprise her with some flowers after work? What we've come so far over the years. Our relationship is near perfect. I love her beyond words. Nothing wrong with expressing that, right? Wrong. I bring home the flowers, a full-fledged $100 bouquet, and she loses her absolute shit. She said it's one of the things she's ever explicitly asked me not to do, and I couldn't even respect that. So that's the first part of this. He goes, I'll just paraphrase the rest of it. He goes on to talk about he goes on to talk about how he's basically living with an alpha widow. I mean, in this case, a literal alpha widow. He's 26 years old. And if you go and maybe I should just read the rest of this thing because it's not that long. But he goes into detail on how he finds her old wedding ring from this guy. Where'd it go? Is this it? Let me see.
Yeah, I got a picture of the guy up just for everybody to know.
That's not actually. Yeah.
Try to add some light how pathetic the situation is.
Yes.
Good Lord.
Let me go grab that other one. This is it right here. So then she says, she grabs the flowers out of my hands, storms out of the apartment without even putting on shoes. I follow after her. She starts screaming at the top of her lungs and throws them in the dumpster. Her knees give out. She shrinks down on the ground, crying like absolute crazy. I've never seen her this bad. I get down on the ground with her and hold her profusely apologizing. She calms down. We go back to her apartment. A few hours pass as normal, and admittedly, I make maybe an even bigger mistake. She's on her computer doing some work. I ask her, do you still love him? Was I just a rebound? I regret the words as soon as they come out. I wish I could have taken them back. We haven't discussed him since the first year we were together, but I don't want to ignore the subject. It's killing me. I had to ask. No response, nothing at all. I get angrier. I know I shouldn't have, but I start yelling at her to answer me. She gets up. She starts packing up a duffel bag with her clothes. I ask where she's going. Still nothing. She wouldn't even make eye contact with me. She takes off her engagement ring and wedding rings from our marriage and puts it on the nightstand. I lose it at this point. I feel out of my mind. I literally can't feel my body. It's like I'm watching myself in a third person. Her late husband was cremated, so she kept his wedding ring after he passed in a little box in her sock drawer. I grab the box and I get a hammer. I start bashing the ring in and telling her that he's dead. I'm her husband now. I can't believe she's not over him. Awful stuff. I know. and I don't know what I was thinking. She bawls for me to stop. I immediately stop. I realize what I had done. I wasn't thinking. I couldn't have been. I would never do something like this, but I just did. And then she left. I begged her to stay. She walked out. She didn't, as she walked out, she didn't stay. I've tried contacting her a million times. Her phone is off. She blocked me. I don't know. I called her parents and close friends, and no one knows where she is, or at least they won't tell me. I know I messed up. Is there anything I can do to fix this? Is my marriage over? Yeah. I've never felt that kind of anger before. I've never been so vicious before. I don't know what overcame me. Jealousy, maybe. I don't know. I guess I can't really describe it. Blah blah blah. Okay, so anyways, he has lots of regret, and at the end of it, he ends it this way: I don't. Where do I go from her? I can't lose her. I just can't. This is the kind of guy that I think is a good example of why you need to kill the beta and you need to be red pill before you go into. I mean, this is like, you can go through this guy's case. This is like sort of a case study. You can go through all the events and all the things that led up to this dude being where he's at right now. And it's like, I can go and pick each individual one and say, here's an essay, here's, there's always an essay for stuff, right? But like, he's got this beta mentality, and now he's paying the price for it. It's this, he doesn't know what he's dealing with, first of all. He's certainly not red pill, certainly didn't know what he was getting into, but it's this regret, this anger, this I guess rage really is what it comes from, because he doesn't understand what he's dealing with. He doesn't have the information to deal with this. So I want to throw that out there real quick, because I wanted to see like what your guys take on that whole thing was.
Oh, dude, do you mind if I take the lead on this one, guys?
Go for it.
Covert contracts in this are absolutely staggering. If I pick up the pieces and slide into her DMs at the funeral, she will love me unconditionally. That is an emotionally weak man. He thought that was really his only chance for true love, and that if he would put all these coins into this, I will save you from your own sadness and you will love me forever. And she did what any girl does when you put that kind of responsibility on her. She sabotages it because she does not want that. So she decided to go against his script. Like, yeah, I don't want to be saved. I don't need to be saved. Let me pine over this guy. That's where he had his little narcissistic fantasy there. And he's like, I'll smash the ring like it's fucking Mordor. If I throw it into the mountain. And I know I'm poking fun at this, but this really is like a narcissistic.
Destroy it.
It's a breakdown. Not to mention, throughout this whole thing, she showed him very clearly she's emotionally unavailable. She's still pining after the guy, and he married her full on knowing this because he thought he could save her from himself or from herself. But she's not a person in his little vision. She's just an accessory to his life script of Captain Savaho, literally Admiral Savaho. So when he goes through all these steps and he acts like he's emotional and stuff, he's not emotional because he's empathizing with her or feeling her. He's mad that she's not following this script he invented in his head.
Not
dude,
behaving.
I like that hot dude life.
I know, that's cool. What is that one? What is that, John?
Yeah, like beta male behavior. I'm just throwing
stuff out there.
I'm just trying to make light of this situation,
right?
Because like it's just like this is a guy. This is a guy who is fighting and denying reality, and that's what a lot of these guys. When you're blue pilled, that's really what the essential. I mean, that's what the whole truth of this whole thing is, right? Take the red pill, see the truth. The reality is, man, like you're getting upset over a person that's passed away, and if she look, I'm just gonna say what needs to be said. Something's a little off with her if she is not fully over this guy after such a long period of time. So she may have just taken this guy as a beta provider.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then he's trying to like he believed the lie. He believed the 9 to 5 of like relationships, like work 9 to 5 and you'll retire with the golden parachute. And now he's dealing with this hard reality of that, like she's just not into you, bro. Even though she married you, even though you got all these little things that supposedly say that she's the one, like she's not pining for you like she did that guy who probably, based off of what we are reading, I would say he was an alpha male. Would you say, Rollo, the guy who passed away?
Okay, so that's a good question, because I mean, they got married when they were teenagers. It was sort of this like puppy love kind of thing. It's actually the Jordan Peterson story, right? They met when they were 8 years old or whatever, and they're high school sweethearts or whatever, and they got married, and now he died in a car wreck. Especially
the alpha when you're 16.
Yeah, it is. And the other thing is like she most likely that was the first guy that she ever had sex with. I want to ask you this too, because like I have had sex with 2 virgins in my past. And I think probably maybe John, have you had sex with a virgin? A girl who was a virgin before?
Of course, man.
In your background. Now, how attached did they get to you? Because you were there first.
Yeah. That's I like, you know, you got to follow the entourage rule. Like, never be someone's first, never be someone's last.
Right. Maybe you guys can chime in here, but like in every instance, like both instances that I had sex with a girl who was a virgin, in each one they just fixate on you. It's like you were there first, and like, you know, they always say, I mean, that's the joke, right? You never forget your first, right? And there's a reason for that, because what that guy, the first guy that a woman ever has sex with, unless it's like, you know, her uncle or whatever, you know, like unless she's abused or there's something really, you know, twisted and wrong about it, that woman is always going to use that as her benchmark for the guys that come past. Come after that. That's why I keep saying, like, when I talk about women's notch count, or when we talk about how a woman who has, you know, more than like say 10 sexual partners in her history has, this is statistically researched, proven that women have a higher incidence of divorce, and they have a lower incidence of being able to form healthy attachments to a guy in a monogamous relationship, the more she's had sex, right? And so I think that what gets lost in that is most guys will go, yeah, man, girls shouldn't be skanks, you know, or they shouldn't, you know, the more the more promiscuous a woman is, like the she's worth less and less. But
it does fuck with their head.
It does.
But
I think what it is it's not a numbers game. It's an alpha impact game. So if a woman here, and this is a really good example of that, is you've got this girl who's only ever had sex with one guy, the guy that was her husband, the guy who died in the car crash.
So she claims.
And so this guy claims too. But first guy she's had sex with has a history from a childhood history with the guy. The guy dies, is almost a martyr, you know, to her. And so he's going to be that alpha that she's going to pine for. Whether or not he was alpha or he wasn't is kind of irrelevant, because she doesn't have anybody else to compare him to. So unless this guy, the husband here, is more alpha enough to sort of replace this guy in her mind, then, you know, honestly, I think he was probably the good enough guy, or the guy who was there, and he probably gamed her in like long game. Right? Like beta long game, like, oh, if I'm just dependable and I just do the right things, and then she'll marry me. And, you know, there's a lot going on here. It's Captain Save-A-Ho. It's a scarcity mentality. It's alpha widow. I mean, the guy is in a world of hurt, definitely zeroed out after this.
But this is a horrible. I mean, like the end of this thing. And then he says, and then she left. I begged her to stay as she walked out, but she didn't. And then he ends up, where do I go from here? I can't lose her. I just can't. And it's like, well, dude, you've already lost her. This is the fucking, you know, and what lack of self-respect must, you know, like this guy's in negative self-respect here, because clearly he's described it in his own post. Here is a woman who is clearly distraught over some other, you know, her ex who's sadly died, in a way that she will never be for him, and that is very, very clear. He's written it himself, and yet he's still going, I can't lose her. Mate, it shouldn't be a question of how do I turn this around. You should now be walking out the house. You should be saying, listen, I'm sorry, this is, you know, I'm no longer going to deal with this, and you should be getting the hell out of there. Do you know what I mean? Just on the basis of your own self-respect. You know, and it's just that the end of that email, of that post, just I find really painful to read. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just like, to be in that mindset, it's just horrible. You know, I would say even in my most sort of like blue pill like days, if you like, if you're being treated with that sort of disrespect, because that's really what it is, isn't it? I mean, I know that's, you know, people would disagree, because they'd say, well, no, she's upset because of the guy died and everything, but ultimately she's showing him incredible disrespect. He should not tolerate that. You know, that should not be your mindset. That should not be the way that you operate in the world as a guy. You know, you should be like, no, sorry, I'm not taking this. I'm getting the hell out of here, and I'm getting as far away as I possibly can.
Right. Okay. Clearly,
That's
the guy.
Solid point.
Clearly, the guy is blue pill. Okay. I mean, and this is why I keep saying you need to kill the beta. Now, hear me out here. Let's see if you guys can track with me here. So we got this guy who is in a world of hurt, 26 years old, really sort of feeling the consequences of his decisions, and those decisions were built upon a mindset that is certainly not in his best interest. Let's just say that, to put it mildly. Yeah. Then you take a guy like that Rowan Baxter guy, or any guy who kills off his family, kills off his wife, kills off his kids, whatever, and in this case, a very grisly way. That guy's mindset is also, I would say, a comparable mindset to this guy here as well, in that there's a belief that if I do these things, if I play by these rules, then the person that I'm with should play by those rules too. That's what throws off blue. But you want to know why guys get zeroed out with respect to women, is because that woman reveals to him in behavior or however, and most of the guys, most blue pill guys, they ignore it or they're oblivious to it. They don't, like I keep saying, the medium is the message. They don't see the medium, and they get into a world of hurt. And it's at that point, that lowest point, that crisis point where they're at, that's when hopefully they start looking for answers, you know, with the red pill, with whatever. But if they don't find those answers, if they don't even get curious, then bad things happen. And they either kill themselves, kill families. Like this guy right here, when I read this, I'm like, this guy's going to kill himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely. I mean, this is it's stressful. Jesus.
Well, I mean, how many of us? How many?
I want to say this. Rollo.
Okay, go ahead.
Just this is what I'm saying. The point I'm trying to say here is like what I see in America, because you know I live outside of America, so I live outside of the Western world. How he is acting and talking about this girl. This is what Japanese women do on soap operas in Japanese daytime shows about the man that's not interested in them. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that have these histrionic breakdowns. They're the ones like, why don't you love me? Why, what is this? Like this guy is acting like a girl. And this thing you guys have been sold in America, you know, what I've noticed too, the more I get, like, I guess get older, I've noticed this, but like more and more guys in America, they're acting very, very feminine. They have more feminine gestures. And this is a telltale sign of like what will happen if you believe that mainstream narrative that like get in touch with your feminine side and, you know, show your sensitive side to her and all this stuff. It is terrible advice. I don't know where the root point of all this crap came from, but it is not to be followed. You need to look at James Bond in Casino Royale. Okay. And this guy is the perfect example. If you watch Casino Royale, this is the one played by Daniel Craig. He is alpha all the way to the end of the movie. And then right as soon as he gets beta and he tells her like, you're all I need, blah, 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 she robs his fucking ass blind. And that is the truth about what can happen to you in these relationships. I'm not saying all women are sitting there like, ha ha ha, I'm going to screw this guy over.
They don't do it cognitively. No,
but it is what could happen. You know, these things about being in touch with your feelings and show your sensitive side and put the woman first. These are all lies that have been engineered by some marketing guru to financially extract the most money out of you as possible. That's your red pill for the day.
Hey,
I know
things don't fall out of the sky. So like if you don't see this coming, then you know there's a problem.
I know that you guys probably deal with this too. Like when you get a new guy that comes in and maybe he becomes part of your community or he wants counseling or whatever, and they come to you. I mean, I've had guys who, geez, I mean, as far back as 2017 when we were doing that other convention, I had guys coming up to me saying, dude, you literally saved my life. I was going to kill myself and I canceled my plans to kill myself because I read what I was awakened and aware. And that's what gets me about, you know, being censored or being deplatformed or any of this other crap is like, the guys who get to that point, they get to the point where it seems like a good idea to kill their wife and burn their kids alive in a car. When that's a good idea to you, like that, you need some sort of intervention before that happens. Yeah. And of course, what are they saying right now? It's like, well, he's a monster, he's evil, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, of course, yeah, he's evil. But how did he get to that point? How do we talk about? We're like guys, we're in the chat here. We're talking about Anthony Bourdain. Anthony Bourdain, by all impressions, was an alpha guy. I mean, he was hanging out with people and was, had his own show. He had a lot of money. Probably could have had, certainly could have had a hotter chick than Asia Argento. Let's just be honest. Okay? Certainly. Yeah. So,
well, it's the hotter one out of her friend group there because Rose McGowan hit that wall hard.
But he is okay. So did she kill him? No, but she was her behavior was the catalyst for him hanging himself, right? And why? You know what killed Anthony Bourdain? His mindset, his blue pill mindset. He was unable to think differently. He was unable to get himself out of that. That's why people, I wanted to talk about this today too, is like, whenever I see stuff like this, people will sort of euphemistically say, the red pill saves lives, or game saves lives, or whatever. If you had thought differently, if you had done something differently, or if you had changed your mind about yourself, or changed your mind about the nature of women, if you'd made yourself your mental point of origin instead of Asia Argento your mental point of origin when she went and fucked some 29-year-old dude, you would not have had that. You would not have a noose around your neck. That would not seem like a good idea. Burning your children, barbecuing your children would not seem like a good idea. And so what is it that separates the guy who gets zeroed out and builds himself back up again from zero and comes back, and hopefully you're better than you were before? But certainly you find out, like John was saying, you find out who your friends were. You find out who's supporting you and who's not supporting you, even when you're in your low points. Then really what it comes down to is your mindset, is your blue pill conditioning going to be the reason for your death? And that's why I keep saying it is literally a matter of life or death. And so when purple pill schmucks come up and they're oh, it's okay, you can still have your soulmate and be red pill, fuck you. Because seriously, fuck you.
Shove it up your ass. Oh wait.
Well, because what you're doing is you're encouraging this mindset that has been responsible for the deaths of a lot of people. Go ahead, Troy.
Well, the danger is, isn't it, that then people think this is how it's meant to be. They think it's meant that they think this is the social contract and this is how it's meant to be. It's meant to be. You're in this marriage. It's one woman. She loves you for the rest of your life. She supports you through thick and thin. She doesn't leave if you lose your job or whatever. You've got it in your head. That is how things are meant to be. And then when things don't go that way, then you think, well, I'm going to kill myself, or I'm going to do something. I'm going to harm somebody else, because it's so horrendous to you that what your mental model is telling you is how things should be as a matter of course for everybody has somehow not happened in your life, and it feels like you're horrifically victimized. Whereas actually, when people have that mindset shift and they realize, well, hang on a minute, actually the paradigms that perhaps we've been societally taught aren't necessarily watertight, or useful, but they're not necessarily true, then you start to get a bit more flexible. And then, like John was saying right at the beginning, then you've got less attachment to ideas. You've got less attachment, and you can think, okay, I've had a lot of crap happen to me recently, but I accept that. It's gone. Now I've got to move on to the next stage. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to build myself up again. But you only get that resilience when you get rid of those rigid and fixed ideas about how things are meant to be. And that's what the purple pill guys are pushing. This idea that,
take her to the dance, man. Take her to the dance. You won't want to kill yourself if you just take her to the dance.
I got to say, whoever came up with this scam was a genius, because it logically makes sense for guys who don't really think too deeply into it. Like, oh, if I just logically conclude to these behaviors, then a woman will love me. And if if you know anything about women, you know that logic is the last thing on their plate when it comes to selecting a mate.
It's the church. The church used to do this because back then it was sociologically viable, and it was a good way to keep guys working and being happy. The priest was basically, this is why they probably call you a cult leader, Rollo, because the priest was basically what Rollo is doing now, but he was talking to his congregation. Like, don't worry about it. The hose will be loyal. Just ejaculate and evacuate, or whatever priests would say, like absolution. This is the
They probably
script.
didn't say
Follow
that.
this.
I don't
follow
think
this.
they said that. I
Plenary
misread the Bible.
indulgences. Yes.
Well, it was the smaller section.
John
It was the-
3:16, ejaculate and evacuate.
But that's the point. He would tell you, like, look, do A, B, and C, and then D will follow. You'll be happy, and Jesus will accept you, and all that stuff, which was great because all the nuns would tell the girls to keep that dime between your knees and kept them acting right. So it was essentially control for the people's own good. But we've kind of gotten rid of all those controls now.
Yeah.
So you're giving a guy the same script. It's like giving, here's the keys to a car that doesn't exist anymore. Why can't I drive? Well, I'll give you a hint. It's probably because the engine and the rest of the car is gone. So you better start learning how to ride your bike or start jogging.
This was a good one right here. It says, a shame they don't want their kids to live knowing their father killed their mom. That might have something to do with it. I think really what it is
it's past reason at that point.
It's past reasoning, but I think that why killing your kids makes sense, I guess. I'm not saying it's sense, but it's like is pragmatic to them is because it's an erasing everything that led up to where they are right now. Like to erase the wife, erase the kids, erase everything. It's better that we never did this in the first place. We're all going to hell. Let's go.
Mice and men, man.
Show
It's
the
rabbits.
Can we show that list of blue pill things you posted, and then somebody who edited it and made it red pill?
You mean that I
got it right here.
The dry erase report. I have
This
it
one.
here too. Hang on.
Or you want to screen? You want to?
No, you have it right there. Yeah. Okay. I'll do the other one though. This is pretty funny.
I think this is hilarious. So we've seen this is Tom Bilyeu. He's a very popular podcaster. He used to be really fat, lost a lot of weight. And he says 9 lessons we've learned over 17 years of marriage, right? This is number 1, have sex often. Number 2, communicate obsessively. Number 3, lift each other up. Number 4, be honest, especially when it's hard. Number 5, be a good leader and a good follower. Number 6, forgive mistakes fast. Yikes. Number 7, hold each other to a high ass standard. Number 8, want the other person to win. Number 9, make your marriage your highest priority. And then I have the other ones. You want me to go
right here. I got it right here.
You got it? Okay.
I don't know who did this, but this was pretty funny. Have sex often, lift, be honest. It's hard. be a leader. Good. Fast, hold. I don't know whether be a leader.
Just fast, like a fasting.
Hold fast.
Fast, hold. Yeah, hold fast.
No. Just fast isn't fasting for number 6.
Fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold to a high ass standard. You yourself want to win. Make you highest priority.
Now that is
pretty
great
good.
advice. That right there is
good.
solid advice.
That was pretty funny. All right, push this back.
To be fair, she is at least looking at him, and he's not like all those to sign. She's got that.
Yeah, no. I by no means am I. Honestly, if you're a guy with pretty if you're a solid relationship guy like Ryan and stuff, like you have good red pill understanding, I would say you could abide by those first set of rules and kind of use your own internal red pill lens to be like, okay,
like you can earn comfort. That's the thing, though. You have to earn it. You can't just give it.
Yes, absolutely.
I think a lot of guys, and this was in the chat as well, is like the idea that you can sort of relax at some point. I think that is that's definitely a blue pill ideal, is that once you I get this all the time. I help guys that will, and I'm sure you probably run into this too, John, is when you help guys out and you say, you get them out of a bad situation, you get them out of there, you sort of break them out, give them some red pill understanding, but they don't go all the way. They just learn enough about game to facilitate their blue pill ideals. And really, that's kind of what happened to, here's another zeroing out, really what happened to Mystery, right? Old PUA Mystery. He learned how to get laid. He could get laid, no problem, but he couldn't make women be what he wanted them to be. He couldn't make a chick be his blue pill ideal, because he still believed in the idea that women, I still to this day, as far as I don't know, maybe things have changed since then, but certainly when he was suicidal, and he's been suicidal before, it was primarily because he couldn't find the one. He couldn't find the girl who loved him as much as he loved her. And it wasn't that you couldn't get that, you couldn't have that ideal. because he wasn't red pill. He knew game very, very well, but he wasn't red pill, or he wasn't learning the red pill lessons that game was actually teaching him. And as a result, he became despondent. And that's where that's when you get guys who are saying, like you get the black pill guys who are like, oh, it's worthless, or the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So I'm just going to isolate myself and go monk mode and never come out of monk mode.
Or you find God.
Or you find God. Yeah. Or there's ways that guys, like when you can't, I think that's a good illustration there, Troy. When guys can't resolve their blue pill ideals, particularly with new information, with the red pill awareness, you either go red pill and you see the benefit of it and you leverage it for your life and you use those tools to build yourself a better life, or you regress and you go back into you sort of tenaciously cling to what it was that all those ideals, that blue pill ideals, because it's hard, man. It's hard to let go of that stuff. That's why I keep saying, like, when you kill the beta, you're actually killing off your old way of thinking. Your old mentality, your old blue pill conditioning has to die. It has to go away, and you have to replace that in an internalized red pill awareness and build something else after that. And most guys, particularly the guys who cannot cross the abyss, the guys who are mired and stuck in the black pill, they can't see the benefit. They can't see how to. It's like, I got all these tools, I don't know what to do with those tools. I can't have what I had, and I don't know what to do with the red pill, and I can't have the blue pill, and I'm stuck here, and I have all these tools, and I don't know what to do with them. I'm doomed. I'm not hot enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not jacked enough. I'm not whatever enough, right? And they don't see the opportunity that they could have. That's why I say it's the bitter taste of the red pill is that you're cut away from that blue pill ideal, like your ignorance. It might have been better for you to just stay in the blue pill, to stay with your fantasies, because at least you had hope in your fantasies. Now that you're red pill and you're aware, but yet you can't figure out how to be creative with it and to use it and to benefit your life with it and to do something new, you're in limbo. You're in purgatory. You don't know where to go with it. And it's literally a transformation. You get caught in the middle of the transformation. And I think a lot of guys just they opt for staying right there and commiserating with one another.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one more thing here really quick. This is another
that was a great article.
That was this is
terrifyingly great.
So this came to me this morning. It says the reason so many men reject the red pill is it destroys everything they've known, and as a result, you may end up being alone after embracing the red pill philosophy. You don't have to, because once you embrace the red pill philosophy, it's hard to date. Because now you know the true nature of women. And the guy below
it, I hate that attitude. Sorry,
me too. Has this guy never had sex? It's great.
Yeah. Well, the guy below it says, agree it changes the understanding of female nature, but I think it's better to use that new understanding to a guy's benefit. I still like to have hotties in bikinis on my boat feeding her vodka, but I don't need to commit or pay her bills. We can have our cake and eat it too.
Yeah, that guy's my guy.
That is, so what you're saying in that first tweet is really kind of black pill understanding of intersexual dynamics of the red pill. Really, that's red pill understanding and not a black pill sort of paralysis, I guess. And then the guy below there is like, yeah, you can use this to your benefit. This, again, you have this fantastic new understanding, this fantastic tool set. What are you going to build with it? What are you going to do? Are you going to kill yourself because you know this, or are you going to rebuild yourself because you know this?
Yeah,
kill that out.
Yeah, everything's an opportunity. Again, I mean, there are so many opportunities out there. It's an amazing time to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not.
And even if they do, doctors will bring you back. You're right.
It's not nihilistic. It's not nihilistic to see things as they are. It's not nihilistic.
It doesn't have to be.
It's the best time to be alive. And like these guys listen, it is the best and easiest time to be alive. And these guys, what do they choose to do with it? They choose to cry on the internet. If that doesn't show you what's going on up here, nothing ever will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I, when I'm talking to guys who were, planning to kill themselves, or when I'd like to, if I'm going to gloss myself over anything, I'm happy to say that at least my work has in some way prevented the deaths of men. And I can verify that. And as a result, you got to understand there's a cascade effect that goes with that. So maybe the guy was a father. Those kids now have their dad still around. He's going to stick around. He's going to fight. And that's what I keep telling you. It's like, don't kill yourself, man. You do know, especially if you do, especially if you're suicide. Like if you get killed in a car crash, if you get killed and it's not your fault, or you get killed trying, you'll be remembered. But if you kill yourself, that's the thing, is like this beta mentality is like, well, I'm going to kill myself and then they'll be sorry. And then they'll remember me. No, you'll be forgotten, man. You'll be erased. And
they will use your death for social clout.
Yes, exactly. Even more so, they will use your death to build themselves up. So yeah. I talk to guys all the, and you guys have probably have you guys run into guys who, I did a show, back in October, and I asked guys to call in and to chat in, call in and say, what has the red pill done for you? How has it changed your life? What has it done? And I would say like 90% of the guys who called in to that show were like, dude, I'd be dead if it wasn't for this. I was planning to kill myself. My wife had left me and my girl had left me. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know why she was leaving me. And then it was hard to read your work, but I'm better off for it now because they stood up and they said they're going to fight and they're going to do something with it. And they're going to rebuild. Like I tell this guy, I tell guys this all the time. It's like, I'm not in the business of making men better men. I'm in the business of having men make themselves better men.
Yeah, well, what else are you going to do? But jerk off in your living room? Like, come on.
Yeah. And do you guys run into that too? Do you have guys that will hit you? I know John does. I know Ryan does.
Oh, I got a story for you.
Sure. Go ahead.
So it's funny when the guys like, the guys want to take they want to take portions of what I teach them, and they want to be like, oh, I'll accept this reality and I won't set this. And I'm like, you know what? I just let them be. I say, hey, listen, what I think, I know what you're going to do. I think it's a really bad idea, but I don't think I'm going to be able to stop you. So go ahead and do it. And I'll be here to say, I told you so when you get back.
Dude,
lo and behold, 3 months later, they're like, I just see a little PayPal notification. I'm like, yep, there he is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right, let's hear it. How did it go? And he's like, yeah, you're right, man. I should never take her seriously. I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, sometimes you got to let the kid touch the stove and burn his hand to figure out on his own. But, when we're out here,
give the guys the red pill award to do whatever he was gonna do anyway.
Yeah, like when guys call in, like wanting our permission and stuff. Like I have a guy in my community. I'm not gonna say his name, but like so first red flag, he matched with a girl off of Tinder and started taking her seriously. Second thing, he gets in the webinars and he starts talking about, well, I'm in Oregon and she's in Minnesota, but we can be together after the next 4 months. And then I kind of softly agreed to doing an open relationship, but now I regret doing it. And she's going on a date with somebody else. So I'm going to go on a date with someone else. And I'm like, dude, you are screwing up royally right now, because the first thing you're doing wrong is A, you're taking girls seriously off a dating app. B, she's seeing other men openly while letting you know. That means that you're not her top priority. And then C, it's a long distance relationship. She's in Minnesota and you're in Oregon. And he's arguing with me and he's like, oh my God, but what about this? What about this? And I say, you know what? God bless you. Go ahead. You get out there. You be somebody. I'll be here with open arms to help you when you're dealing with the aftermath.
I like using it as examples for the other guys, though, because usually I'm in a more of a public forum when guys are talking about this is semi-anonymous. I go, look, after these arguments, like most likely this is going to happen. You're going to react this way. And because there's not many different variations on this. These all follow like 4 standard scripts. Makes me look like a soothsayer, but it's like, no, I just paid attention the first 2 times. And you're like, this is going to happen. And then it's funny because there's always at least 1 or 2 guys that were watching and listening but didn't say anything. They're like, actually, that was what exactly happened to me. And it sometimes helps click the other guy when he hears another guy who literally does exactly that and saw how it goes. So you occasionally pull that one guy before he ends up having to come back 6 months later telling Johnny was right, but it's very rare. And you're right. For the most part, they just need to touch the stove themselves.
I get guys all the time.
Yeah, it's triage, Rollo. You can't save a guy from himself. Same as you can't save a hoe from herself.
I've been doing this long enough to know, like, all I can do really is just say, here it is, read this, think about this. I don't even have to read this. Think about these ideas. And then get back to it. And then they'll either just like, I can't believe you.
That's George Bruno.
Yeah, it's funny when they're older guys too. But they reject it, and then 6 months later, I can usually tell the guys that are going to come back and go, "Dude, you're so right." Because at some point it's going to be true for them. Go ahead.
Yeah, but people have their own journey with these things, don't they? I mean, some people it's going to take a bit longer. You know, they accept a little bit and they go backwards and forth, you know, before they get there, and that's just kind of how it is. Do you know what I mean? But it's what's difficult is when guys internalize the whole thing and they get it intellectually, but they don't enact it in their lives, and even worse, if they're actually teaching guys something that's sort of opposite
counter
to
them. Yeah, and dangerous to them as well. And like, I know I get accused of this all the time because people say, well, the red pill is radicalizing guys, or it's making these dudes, it's turning guys into Elliot Rodger, or it's turning guys into Alec Manassian or school shooters or whatever because of that. And I was like, no, those dudes are there already. Those guys' mentality, you know why those guys are there is because they have been living in this. You know, they don't know. Like when I've
that's like blaming first responders for people dying under their watch more than any other medical professional.
Yes,
dude, that's the last chance right there.
Yes. Well, it's like when I see guys and I see them kill each other, or I see them like I see an Elliot Rodger, or I see what was it, Nick Cruz, you know, the guy who shot up the school in Florida. When I see those guys, or I see a guy who kills himself or whatever, I look at that and I say, this is kind of like it's tragedy because it didn't have to happen. If they thought something different, if they understood the environment and the game and the matrix that they're in right now, and if they had somebody that's, you know, gave them a sort of said, hey, you know, prompt them to think in a different way, that perhaps they'd still be alive. And perhaps the people that they killed would still be alive. And that's why I say that, you know, the red pill saves lives. This mentality saves lives. Thinking things, you know, thinking in a different way saves lives. And so it's not that I'm telling them the realities or making them red pill aware and they can't handle it. They already can't handle it. But they can't handle it because they're operating under an old set of assumptions. They're operating under the idea that everybody's playing by a rule set that nobody's playing with them. And so and then what happens is, I'm sure you guys run into this as well, is you'll get guys who will say, well, if they're not playing by these rules, then there's something wrong with them. And it's not wrong with me. It's something that's wrong with them. So like when I say like men and women have different concepts of love, and I talked about this last week, when I say that, you know, women love opportunistically and men love idealistically, what those guys will do who are still clinging to that blue pill, you know, mentality will say, well, if women can't love me idealistically the way that I love, then they can't really love, because what you're saying is that my experience and what I'm about and how I define love is the only way that anybody should ever, you know, it's this self-righteousness that you should come over and believe and think the way that I do. And when people don't do that, and when people won't play by the rules that you think they ought to, that will make them righteous, that will make them good people, that will make them moral, then when they don't play by that, you say, well, rather than thinking like, okay, why do they think that? And why do, you know, let's suss this out. Let's try to figure out why there's a difference between us. They'll go, no, they don't think right. They're low quality, right? They're damaged. There's something wrong with them because they don't think the way that I do. And so that self-analysis is, there's people who have questions don't scare me, but people who don't have any questions scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And again, that's attachment to a very specific way of thinking, isn't it? And you need to get away from rigid ideas. You need to get away from particularly rigid old order ideas, you know, because it's just going to fuck you up. Sorry, apologies for swearing, but it's just going to mess you up because, we're down.
It's all over.
It's just going to mess you up because you're attached to rigid old order thinking. And then when something doesn't go according to that, you are going to get much more damaged by that than you would have been otherwise, because you're just going to think this is some sort of almost curse on me. And it's not. It's just the way people act.
Solipsism. Everybody should act exactly like I have and think how I act. And everybody is a reflection of me and nothing else exists. And men are being raised as broken women. And that is taking that because you have sperm is cheap. You can't mix that with solipsism. It just doesn't work.
John was just saying that, like, he sees that guys they act more feminine, and this is a part of that feminine training that conditions them not just to, ape the behaviors of women, but also to presume that anything female is already correct. The way that they think is supposed to be correct.
And these are like super, super jacked gym bros I'm talking about too. Not just like, limp wrist beta dudes.
I know I get that all the time. Guys will say, well, it's all about looks. It's all about looks. And I'm like, well, you know what? You can get in the door with looks. Like I used this example of I had a training partner, and this other guy was a PR guy that I was working with back in the day. And both of these guys, model quality, good looking dudes. I mean, like the guy who was my training partner actually did like male review dance, like Thunder from Down Under kind of stuff. And like was still very, very blue pill. So he could get women's interests and they would want to bang him. But as soon as he would say, well, I love her so much, or he had these, very blue pill beta attitudes towards women, they were just like disgusted with him because there was an incongruency between how he looked and what they expected of a guy that looked like that. And the way he was behaving, and how he was expressing himself was not the ideal. It was incongruent with what they were expecting from that. So it's not always about looks, man.
I would say, in closing, because I know we're gonna wrap up here. Yeah. I would say a really solid, masculine role model right now and how to behave as a man that recently came out. If you watch The Mandalorian and you watch how that guy acts, like how he acts in the show, very stoic, very matter of fact, when he says, I could bring you in hot or I could bring you in cold, like stuff like that. That's the kind of masculinity you want to emulate, not these like Seth Rogen, Joe Rogan, kind of like I flirt with kind of being feminine kind of things. No, that doesn't work. And becoming a super, super more masculine guy now is becoming more rare. So if you guys are, if your end game is getting more women by acting more masculine and internalizing it, you'll get the pick of the litter.
Oh, but John, you have a slave mentality because you just said you wanted to, if you want to get women. Why would you ever want to have women? Why would you ever do that?
Why should I respond to biological urges? Because I'm a greater
above all that. It's funny. It's like the guys who like tell me that they're like, we're above our biological, and we should be able to, to go monk mode and we don't need sex. That's the same mentality that SJWs have, by the way.
Yeah. Like I'm beyond eating until I get hungry and then I really want to eat.
They just don't get that. Oh, what I was gonna say is John, you know why that character is so like it's impressionable, at least upon guys like us, is that it's based on old spaghetti western, like Clint Eastwood movies, where it was an old conventional ideal for masculinity. That's why it stands. Oh, and lo and behold, it's a freaking fan. It's
a hit.
It's a hit. Yeah, it is.
And here's another thing for all you guys that are paying attention to Marvel Phase 4. Let me tell you something. The only reason Marvel was so successful up until now is because you had ultra masculine characters: Tony Stark, Captain America, Thor. Okay, these guys are super masculine. You're gonna watch the entire Marvel franchise now start to unravel and financially dissipate, and they're gonna call everybody racist, sexist, Russian bot, conservative, fascist, white males, whatever. But mark my words, because the same reason before. Look at the most invincible brand before we had, which was Star Wars. And look what they did. They injected it with feminism, and that is the ultimate proof that feminism is cancer. No, dude, Disney is in full panic mode right now because the only thing they have going for them right now is The Mandalorian when it comes to Star Wars.
When it's in that franchise. Yeah, exactly. Before we go, I did want to address one real quick thing. Is somebody brought up Robin Williams, and Robin Williams is a very good example. Like people want to say one of the things is when a guy kills himself and it's over a girl or the woman is the catalyst in that. Their society, a feminine centric society, is very quick to say, well, it wasn't her fault. He was damaged.
Yeah, because that's
what's wrong with him. He had mental, of course they would say that, well, he was on antidepressants, he had mental issues and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, there might be, like Robin Williams, people want to say, well, he dealt with depression his whole life. Well, yeah, when you're dealing with, when you're expecting women to be one way and they take you for, I mean, what was he suffering? He had like 3 divorces or something like that. And I think at the end of his life, he was basically doing movies so that he could pay make his alimony payments. And, you know, he was saying that it's not, it's not loneliness. It's thinking that you're with somebody and they're really not with you. That's worse than loneliness. I forget what the quote was that he had said, but there's always going to be that mental issue. And yeah, there could be mental issues when you might be depressed because, in fact, that's one of the stages of unplugging is depression, is it's becoming hopefully it doesn't turn into despondency, but yeah,
that's just it. Mental illness doesn't come out of a vacuum. There's things that trigger it. There's events that change it. Your body chemistry has changed. Like when you talk about the zeroing out, there is a hormonal and chemical change in the body, which a lot of the time causes these depressive symbols. And if you get into a feedback loop, then they could stay there. But you can't just assume it's like internal. Like he would have just been sitting in a house all day fine, and then one day woke up crazy. It's like that's not how it works.
Yeah, it's a progress. It's a process, is what it is. So, like when I see Anthony Bourdain, and like, you know, society, the gynocentric society is going to jump to Aja Argento's defense like immediately, and the reason they were so fast about that is because they know what the real thing that set him off. She was the catalyst. Her actions. Now, whether he should have done that or not, we can argue about that. Really, it's because of his blue pill mindset. It's his old way of thinking. But you know, we can't say that. We can't have women be the catalyst for that. The same thing happened with that guy Rowan Baxter. He's just a monster. They know, God forbid. Like I think one of the detectives or the cops that was investigating the suicide there had said something like, well, we need to keep an open mind about this until we have all the facts in the case. Women lost it. They lost their minds because there's only one answer, and that's he was a monster and he was stalking her and he was this evil thing. It's like, yeah, they were going through a divorce. They'd been married for 11 years, and clearly the guy in some way had a blue pill mentality. He was like stalking her and checking her phone and all this other stuff that was going along with that. And yeah, he took it to the nth degree and he lost his shit because he believed in a blue pill concept, a beta concept, which is relational equity, that the things that you do and the things that you build into this have some sort of, you know, are some kind of insurance policy against your wife leaving you. You know, that hypergamy should care. No, it doesn't. And you need to unlearn those things, because if you don't, the consequences and the things that you get to sometimes are bad. It's almost like when we talk about how guys, when they come to the red pill, it's usually based on crisis. And the crisis is that what they used to think, their old way of thinking that they had internalized, that they've been conditioned for since the time they were a kid, has been crushed. It's been destroyed. It's been proven false. And they don't know how to deal with that. So they either look for answers or they erase themselves. So that I'm going to leave the show here with that. What did he put on here? I'm glad that's your favorite movie, dude. Yeah.
Thanks for $10.
Yeah. Oh, I guess your laundry's done. So it's time to go.
Son of a Jim Chan Laundry. What can I say? And I'm pretty dark.
I'm going to be on with the guys from Masculine Geek here in about half an hour. We're going to pick up our D&D game. I am actually playing a character in that game. So you guys, just so you know, go over to Masculine Geek and you'll see me like geek out for a little while. I promise I won't say the word hypergamy while I'm over there. So I'll just really quick. Here's what I got going on. I'm going to have an interview with Ian Miles Chong tomorrow on my channel. Should be pretty interesting. He's kind of I don't want to call him a conservative pundit, but he's been really getting into intersexual dynamics with his stuff. And so I want to talk to him about conventional masculinity and the crisis of paternity and all this other stuff that I usually get into. It's going to be a pretty good interview. So watch that tomorrow. It'll be at 4:30 p.m. on this very channel. If you have not subscribed to, please do so. And then really quickly, Hot Dude House.
Hot Dude House is sold out, man.
Hot Dude Time Machine is coming out there. Hot Dude House is sold out. There's a hot tub there, just saying, and a big pool. So
Yeah.
we'll that's coming up, and we are just I'm just going to call it. We are basically sold out of the original 100 tickets right now. We have a little bit of overage in case you guys want to still be a part of it, but you got to either contact us to direct or be like a Patreon member or whatever to get in. But we're actually in our overage tickets right now, and we have like very few of those. So we're probably going to end up I would say we'll probably end up cutting it off by March, like completely. So if you beg and plead and you really want to get in, and another thing is,
dude, I want to cut it off now. I'm panicking on making sure
cut it
everybody
off?
gets their
Okay.
money's worth. So I'm just like, slow it down.
well, hit up me and John because we got tickets left. We have a few tickets. And Troy's got a few tickets left too. So
Yeah, I've just put putting the link in the chat now. By the way, guys, if you want to get a ticket for Rule Zero Live, then I do have a couple left. So so just go to the link.
Where did you?
And I'm gonna get ready to go live here on my channel and do Dude Party. We're gonna talk about what qualities a man should look for when selecting a woman for a relationship. The panel is gonna be up in the air. We'll see who's on there. It'll be me and Abu American for sure. But until next time, that's all I got going for me.
Cool. Troy, what's up? What do you got going besides Hot Dude Time Machine?
Hot Dude Time Machine, man. That's been the focus all week, really. But it's awesome. The just the response we've had on that. But just for me, follow me on YouTube. Just search for Troy Francis. Find my YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. Podcast coming up on Monday. Videos, live streams throughout the week. That's it really. Grab my books, Renegade Dating Blueprint, collection of 11 books, $39. The link is on my YouTube channel, so do that. And as I said, if you do want to get the last couple of Rule Zero Live tickets, I have got a couple left, so I put the link in the chat, so go there and that will sort you out.
Ryan and
dude, if you guys, you know how to find me, you know what I'm doing, just get in there. I'm not going to pitch it at this point.
Yeah. So Rule Zero Live Las Vegas will be April 18th. Make a weekend of it. I plan to. I will actually be at the Hot Dude House on the 17th on Friday. I'm flying in. I'm like all of a 45-minute flight from here. So I will be there Friday morning. We'll do the conference. Will be on Saturday. We'll have an after party kind of thing. We're gonna do a sort of a live chat between all of us and anybody who wants to participate. We're going to film that too. We're going to video that. And maybe even if I can work it out, we'll live stream it. Maybe it'll be a Rule Zero stream of some sort. And Ryan, on Sunday, you and I are talking about maybe doing a gathering of some kind Sunday morning.
Yeah. Well, that's because I was thinking, like I said, I'm panicking on the content on this. So I'm like, it'd be great. And Troy and John, you guys are doing great things there with the house, getting guys, hot and I don't know how else to describe it, but yeah, for me, I was thinking, you guys are really enjoying the content. So what can I do to squeeze every bit of content out of this for you guys? I'm thinking like live audience stuff, more interactive, the kind of thing we could film and make it like a more permanent thing. And you could have something you point to and you're like, yeah, that was me. I was there. That's my elbow in that film shot. Don't dox me. But you know what I mean? Like a certain permanence to it. And I think that would be really cool. It's like that time when you were an extra in that movie when they were filming in your town, and that's going to be forever. You're like, I was the extra in Happy Gilmore. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm a dreamer, whatever.
We're gonna do like Ryan and I are discussing. Well, I'm sure you'll just check out my page or my Patreon or whatever. We'll let you know what we do on Sunday. We'll probably just have a get together between me and Ryan and just have a talk. I guess I have a gathering kind of thing. I guess on Sunday. So yeah,
that'll be the prayer meeting. The
prayer meeting. Yeah. Well, you guys are you guys are hungover and recovering. We'll actually be like talking and doing some stuff. All right, guys, that's it for us. Thanks for watching today, and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.